yeah, these are really that good as everybody's saying they are. So no need for me to review them. Just go out, buy them, and see you next time. Bye. Welcome back to my channel, guys, and today we are having 7Hz Timeless. It's an in-ear model that everybody's been raving about lately, and I've been sitting on my sample for some time now. I was a bit lazy and I was like, okay, I'll get to it. But the good reviews and great impressions keep piling up, and I was finally like, okay, let me check what's going on here. So I finally unpacked them, and I can say it's a fairly small box. And inside you get this pretty nice aluminum carrying case. It's great looking, premium looking, but be careful of one thing. If you keep your fingers in the back here where this line is, you can, you can really easily pinch your fingers. It happened to me, it happened to my girlfriend, because she came back from work and she was like, oh, what is this pretty thing? You know, girls' jewelry, things like that. And she was like, oh. Yeah, that's what you get for opening other people's boxes. Anyway, pretty nice, luxurious looking box with some sharp edges and like trap on the back. Be careful about that. Other than that, you can choose when you buy these, as I understand, if you want balanced cable, this is Pentacon 4.4 millimeters that I've got, or you can opt out for more common single-ended 3.5 millimeters. So there is no adapter in the box, you choose one or the other. Now, cable itself is of a really decent quality, it doesn't tangle much, it's not microphonic that much, it's just a pretty decent cable. I like it, there is not much to talk about there. In-ears, earbuds themselves, are circularly shaped. And my first thought, because of that, because this surface is quite big, this circle, was, okay, is this going to fit without some annoying rubbing on your ear? But I tried them and I was like, oh no, this is all okay. Well, for me at least, because I have huge ears, they're like black holes. But if you have those small tiny ears, this might kind of be a problem for you, I don't know. Because that's the part that you simply cannot trust any single reviewer. I saw some people saying it's a little bit big for their ears, for mine it's not. But the last thing that I wanted to mention is that supplied ear tips are on a smaller side. So for example, medium-sized silicone tips that come with these are too small for me. In fact, it's even more tricky than that. I didn't realize they're too small because I felt that they're fitting well inside my ears. But sound quality was a little bit off. I heard a lot of emphasis on highest frequencies and very little bass. And it was not until I exchanged those ear tips for something that I know fit me well, some other medium-sized tips, and I finally secured a really great grip, that I felt, oh man, this is other story. Now tonality is better, there's more bass, there's more punch. And if you find common medium-sized ear tips to be good fit for you, there is a good chance that medium size on these ones will not be. They might seem they're okay, but it might provide like too lean tonality. Just try other tips before deciding on the sound quality of these. And talking about sound quality, I can say that Timeless here really sounds great. They cost $220 US, and for that price they really sound great. And that starts with detail retrieval. It's phenomenal, especially in the mid-range and especially in the upper mid-range part. All of the tiny details, texture from all kinds of tones, may that be vocals or any sort of instrument, like string instrument. or saxophone, or whatever you can imagine that has texture, you'll hear plenty of details and plenty of texture. It's all in front of you, easy to hear, easy to notice. This in-ear does an astonishing job on that front. But when it comes to tonality, there's something that you'll either like or maybe tolerate or don't like that much. And what I'm saying is, yes, these are a little bit brighter and a little bit more aggressive when it comes to upper frequencies. So let's start with the bass line. Bass line goes deep. It's full, it's punchy, it's also really nicely controlled, it's quick, it's nimble. So if I listen to my favorite double bass player, I hear all of these bass texture and transients and crisp edges. It's just beautiful. But that said, mid-bass is not that emphasized as on most in-ears. And that means that juicy bass line, especially that juicy mid-bass that we came to expect when somebody is mentioning bassy sound signature, is not all that present here. Because upper bass, that mid-bass, is not that elevated. And it's not giving much warmth to the sound overall and to the mid-range. And when you actually add to that lower mid-range is recessed, and these do have that typical V-shaped sound signature, that tonality, you get slightly drier and brighter tonality. So no matter what you listen to, you'll notice that vocals have a lot of presence and a lot of details, but not that much chestiness and fullness. And for female vocals, that will most of the time sound great. They will sound present and big and like in your face, it's great. With male vocals, like deep one, I don't know, think Leonard Cohen, you'll hear more of his upper registers. And he has that rough, raspy voice, and you'll hear all of that, but without some of that lower mid-range rumble that he also has. It's a little bit dried out, and you get something that's somewhat brighter and drier sounding mid-range. When it comes to the highest frequencies, they're well extended, great details, great airiness all around you. You hear plenty of atmosphere from a recording, like microphones turn on, turn off, that slight background hiss in the recording. Everything is laid bare in front of you. It's simply great. Then soundstage. It's pretty wide, it's airy, it's tall also, and separation is really great, but there is not much depth. I never feel that some instruments are far in front of me or behind me, somewhere deep in space. So overall, this is one really, really good sounding in-ear with slightly brighter and drier tonality. With that said, let's move to few comparisons. And this in-ear is so good that I only compared it with the best that I've heard so far. Because comparing it to anything that came previously that I don't consider the best at the moment on the market would just be one-sided story, and Timeless would just take all of those wins easily. So, my last favorites, starting with Moondrop Kato. These are beautiful in-ears, beautifully built, and even more, you can alter their tonality by changing these nozzles. I reviewed them just recently, and at that moment I claimed them to be the best sounding in-ears up to $2 or $250 US. And I still love them. In direct comparison with Timeless here, you feel that Moondrop Kato is more laid back. It doesn't offer the same amount of details and micro details and that air from the recording. It's a little bit closed, like slightly rolled off up top, and more laid back. Bassline is also faster and more textury, more detailed on Timeless. And on Moondrop Kato, it's a little bit juicier, a little bit fuller sounding bassline. Mid-range has similar sort of recession in the lower mid-range part, but Timeless sound more aggressive in the upper mid-range section. Kato sounds smoother. It's somewhat more laid back. And because of that, sometimes you hear like there's more depth to Kato's sound. Timeless, in comparison, do sound aggressive and in your face a little bit more. But because of that, micro details, transient, like tone edges, and texture from the tone is easily heard with Timeless here. So to summarize this comparison, Kato is more laid back, smoother sounding in the mid-range, especially the upper mid-range part, but it cannot reveal the same amount of details and edges and textures as Timeless can. So technically speaking, I feel that 7Hz Timeless is more accomplished in ear. It's more detailed, more revealing. But if you're not a fan of that brighter and drier tonality, you still might find Kato more to your taste. That's really something that, even though on points I feel that Timeless is a better sounding in-ear, I still believe that there's a lot of you that would still prefer Kato. That said, let's move to another comparison, and that's with SeeAudio Bravery that I reviewed even more recently. These are 280, I believe, and they're great sounding in-ears. They are punchy and very detailed and also V-shaped, the same as Timeless here. And when compared head to head, they are quite similar. There are some slight tonal differences and presentation differences that I'll try to explain right now. Starting with that Bravery here has more upper bass, mid-bass emphasis than Timeless. And that makes sound in a lot of songs, for example, this one that has like very rhythmic, plodding bass line. With Bravery here, it feels fuller, like bigger bass line, but that's mainly because of the more prominent mid-bass section. But with Timeless, it feels like bass line is more precise, more right on the spot, quicker, textury. But at the same time, vocals and the mid-range feel, again, drier, as I explained, and these sound slightly brighter. Other than that, there is no much difference. These are really, really similar. Mid-range is slightly more laid back on Bravery, and also, to my mind, a little bit smoother, a little bit more liquidy, whereas on Timeless, it's more prominent, brighter, and a little bit more aggressive and clawy. It's not much, just a touch more aggressive than these. And the last thing is the soundstage. I feel that it's similarly wide, but Bravery can sometimes project some sounds and some tones from the recording, like they're coming from a deeper place somewhere around you. While Timeless here, they're more in one plane. They can go wide in terms left and right, but I always feel that everything is happening near me. And I think that's because of that upper mid-range presence that's actually pulling everything towards you. So Bravery in some occasions can make sound feel more spacious and like it has more depth, and at the same time feels more laid back. But again, sound stays very incisive, it still has great amount of details, and I believe it would mostly boil down to your taste. Personally, I still prefer Bravery just a little bit, because that fuller mid-bass and that slightly more laid-back mid-range, upper mid-range part, just it suits me a little bit better. That said, you might as well prefer this brighter, more aggressive approach to the sound. Also worth noting that these are $60 cheaper, which actually makes them a great deal, because technically speaking, they can reveal almost everything that these Bravery can. So to conclude this review, if you're after really good set of in-ears and you like highly detailed sound, really precise sound, really quick sound that's airy and textury, these are great in-ears. And I don't think that I've ever heard anything more revealing at this price point. But if you're the kind of person that's easily bothered by this slightly more prominent upper mid-range and upper frequencies in general, then think twice. Also, if you already purchased something like Moondrop Kato, even though I mentioned I feel that timeless are technically more accomplished, don't go chasing unicorns, man. Keep your Kato and enjoy them. Same things for the Bravery here, that I actually slightly preferred to timeless. But if you definitely feel that you have to try them out and see what the fuss is all about, yeah, who am I to stop you, man? I won't. I even provided the links down below the videos that you can click on and buy these and help the channel a little bit by doing that. And that would be all for today, guys. Now, if you liked this video, then click that button, consider subscribing and even becoming a patron, if you will. By the way, big thanks to all current patrons. And see you next time. Bye!